really found the second time around in fitness that if you put in the work to get, learn new skills and learn, marketing or this customer service stuff or sales or management, like if you put in like not that much effort, you can really create some opportunities for yourself, and seems like in this industry a little bit easier than in others because there are so many people that are just kind of hanging out because they like the gym, so they get a job in the gym. So
Hmm.
leaving and then coming back, I think really did show me that as well, that it's like, all right, you can, if you make yourself valuable with the skills that you acquire, you can really name the role you want, or go get the job you want or do the thing that you want.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Masters in Fitness Business Podcast, where you get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And today we're bringing you a giant from the great steel city of Pittsburgh. We got Ryan O'Toole on the show. He is a regional manager for Anytime Fitness there in Pittsburgh. And we're going to be talking about culture, customer experience, customer service, all those things that we know to be important and now are even more important than ever. It's one of the biggest differentiators out there when you're looking to separate yourself from the crowd. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, I appreciate it, Jim. I don't know if I have a master's in fitness business, but hopefully at least a bachelor's, working towards it. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, no worries about not having the paper degree because I pride myself on giving people what I call a real world master's degree, and that's just learning the ropes out in the real world, because we all know that sometimes you can graduate with a degree and still not know what you're doing.
Yeah, the training
So
certifications.
exactly right. Yeah. And then, or even I've even had trainers come in with a 4-year exercise science,
Yeah,
and they don't
absolutely.
know how to train clients because they know the science side, but they don't know the art side. They don't know, like you said, creating that culture, the customer experience, and customer service, because that's what keeps people coming back. So, so Ryan, you want to share how you got started in the business, what kind of motivated you to get in the fitness, and how you found yourself all the way up to regional manager there at Anytime,
Yeah,
which is, I
absolutely.
think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Anytime is the largest big box franchise in the world, aren't they?
Yeah, I believe so. I know
Yeah.
it's consistently, at least since I've been around, which has been 7 years. It's consistently still in the top 500 on all those different lists and everything.
Hmm.
So yeah, definitely
Yeah.
keeps
They're not
adapting
that
and keeps
big
changing.
stateside, but worldwide, I think they're huge.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're on every continent now. They did some weird thing on a boat in Antarctica or something, so I think they got
Yeah.
that one in there. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I mean, I got started. Yeah, I got started just into fitness in general. Like I think a lot of people with sports, and when you're younger, you want to put on muscle, you want to look a certain way. So I was always interested in working out in fitness. Actually went to college for economics, so that's kind of where my interest in the business side and the operations side and managing and running fitness in some way is really what interested me. So I did get started with Anytime Fitness just as a trainer right out of college. They were opening a new club at the time, so I started kind of bare bones as a trainer, running some sessions, and then through I knew where I wanted to get to, so it was a great way to get in the door and start something. From there, I managed a club, which was a little bit more membership side of things, like membership sales. Did some PT sales for a while, and then just kind of kept adding to the experience, kind of learning some new stuff, and now I'm in my current role.
Yeah. Awesome. And I had um, Ryan McKenzie on for FaceTime Live in the Student Union a couple of days ago. And he's talking about mastering small group training and the Rainmaker mindset, which is basically like sales. And everything pretty much comes down to sales, whether you're talking sitting down with somebody for the first time, or if it's your 100th training session with that client. You always have to be selling. So can you take the listeners through the difference in not only job description, but skill set between just when you were just when you were a trainer versus a manager versus sales?
Yeah, with when you're just a trainer, the way our model was set up, people are there's a PT manager that's feeding the program. So in our model, as a trainer, you didn't really necessarily have to get your own clients or anything. It was running a lot of small group training, like you were talking about, a lot of larger group training as well. So, really in that role, it was just about making sure people were having that good experience, making sure they're getting a good workout, making sure you were keeping them healthy, you weren't giving them, too much or not enough that it wasn't worth it or whatever. So keeping people on track, pushing them, giving them a good experience, giving them a good time. And then in our two different kind of sales roles, so that membership sales side, it's a little bit more, you're the first impression of the whole facility. So kind of setting the tone for what we're all about from the beginning. Um, and then once training sales is what I like the most because you really have to get deeper with people. It's a lot harder. For a membership, you might be asking for $40 a month, and then you get into training. Now we're asking $300, $400, $500 a month. So, in order to get that type of a commitment from somebody, it definitely takes a lot more digging in and a lot more kind of motivational interviewing type of stuff to really get that commitment out of people. So,
Can you
um,
say more about that?
on the training side.
No, no, no. About going deeper on the PT training side.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, at least all of our training packages are a 12-month commitment. We don't sell blocks of sessions or, short term, we couple short term things, but we're asking people for a long-term commitment that's a pretty significant amount of money on a monthly basis. So, um, just wanting to lose 50 pounds, that might not be enough to get somebody to make that commitment. So we try to follow up further and we call it the emotional why. I'm sure everybody else has different reasons, but kind of finding out, it's not that they want to lose. Losing 50 pounds isn't what's going to make them commit. It's wanting to lose 50 pounds so they can keep up with their grandkids and be able to play with them without getting out of breath. And or maybe it's a parent that passed away young because of heart issues and now they're going down the same path. So, just really getting good at asking open-ended questions and really getting to the root of what's driving people, which, for most people, that's some type of pain. For others, maybe it's pleasure, but for the most people, I think that are coming to gyms, it's a pain thing. So yeah, just really digging in and finding what that real motivation is, not just that surface level goal they're giving you is really what allows people to spend more money than they probably should on a personal training package because they value it that much. So I think digging deeper is really just building value and what we do and why it's going to be important for them.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and then let's dig into the culture and customer experience and member experience, because I think that's so important. I mean, the example that I always use is that a buddy of mine, he went out to California to try out like all these big franchise group training places. And he went to this boot camp place and signed up for a free class online. And from the minute he walked in, I mean, his experience was exceptional. They knew his name. The minute he walked through the door, he said, "Hey, you must be John. Welcome, John." Walked him over. Orientated him to everything. The class was high energy. He had a great experience. And everybody in there felt the same way and loved the experience because of everything that they did, all those little nuances and nuanced details that they pay attention to. But he said, looking at it from a training side, the programming was crap. Like he would never throw in some of those programming things they did. But the bottom line is that the clients didn't care. They just cared that they had a great experience. They got a sweat on, and they're definitely coming back. So I think it's one of the biggest differentiators that you can do for yourself in the market today. So let's jump into that. Where would somebody kick off or start to build that member experience or customer experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the things you mentioned there, and I think one thing that's so important about customer experience, that relationship building, all of that is it's universal, whether it's a private private studio, whether it's a big box, whether it's a CrossFit thing, like whatever you're doing, that's going to be important because there's always other options and there's always new options. So I think not only is it a differentiator in the onboarding and the sales process, but in terms of keeping people longer and keeping them consistent. Cause like you said, like with the programming, um, not being the best, for the most part with most clients, and you know this, as long as they, you know, almost everything works as long as they do it consistently for a long period of time. They'll get
Mhm.
some type of result. So, if maybe the programming isn't the best, but the way the experience is keeps them coming for a longer period of time, they're gonna get better results than from some amazing programming that they don't really understand or something like that. They won't understand how good it is. But I think one place people can start is some of the things you mentioned with up front, when you first onboard a new member, a new client, or whatever it might be, when they're interested, is getting to know their name and getting to know information about them, like what their family situation is, what they do for work, just that general background information, and then being able to follow up on that after the fact. Like if it's a Thursday and somebody says they're going to their grandkids baseball tournament over the weekend, and then you see a Monday or Tuesday, hey, how'd we do in that tournament? I think that blows a lot of people's minds. It seems so simple, but I think it blows a lot of people's minds because you don't really get that, from a lot of places that don't really care. They don't remember anything you tell them. They might not even ask to begin with, especially in the world of, cheap, $10 gyms or whatever it might be. A lot of places
Mhm.
it's just, here's how much it is. You want to sign up or not? So
Mhm.
I think as a baseline, just creating gathering as much information from people right out of the gate as possible about their life is a great place to start.
Yeah, and I would even backtrack it to there. I mean, because one of the biggest things that my buddy noticed about a lot of these places is that it was super easy to sign up for the first class. There was
Yeah.
almost no friction. I mean, you go to the website, you fill out the form, boom, you're registered. And I think that's huge. I think that can't be understated because I see a lot of fit pros who have a lot of what we call friction, meaning there's a lot of steps and a lot of work that the potential member has to do before they can even get in front of you.
Yeah.
They might have to fill out, they may have to, you may have to call them and then, book an appointment and then maybe reschedule all these things. All of that creates friction to where if you can make it as seamless and as easy and as frictionless as possible for them to come into your club and try it out and get in front of you, I think that's a huge part of the experience. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, all those different steps you're talking about are just more chances for them to change their mind. I
Right.
mean, these
Mm-hmm.
are, if in general, if you're marketing to people that are not, that if we're talking training facilities, you're marketing to people that don't know what they're doing. They're not comfortable in gyms. They haven't been in gyms. So that window of motivation where they're willing to put themselves out there to join a gym is so small to begin with. So if you make that process difficult, the chances of them continuing to feel that strongly about joining a gym, to go the whole way through that process and show up for that initial appointment, just goes way downhill. So I couldn't agree more that the less chance you can give them to change their mind at the beginning, the better, until you can actually get them in your building and let them experience it.
Yeah, and I agree with you that that window to where they're willing to commit is so small that you got to strike while the iron is hot. So the sooner you can follow up with them. I read some stat. It said something like if you follow up within the first 5 minutes of them submitting the lead, then it's like in the high 90s and then drops off dramatically the longer you wait. If you wait more than 24 hours, then you'll never hear from them again in most
Yeah.
cases.
And I mean, the type
So,
of people we're talking about, that aren't comfortable in gyms, or they need
mhm,
the help or whatever, if they filled that out, something had to have happened, so the
mhm,
closer you can be to that event, whether it was a doctor telling them some bad news, whether it was them trying to do something that they haven't done in a long time and realizing how out of, some type of, emotional or physical event took place to push them to fill that out, so the closer you can respond to that, the better.
Okay. So, all right. So we got friction and then we got getting to know them. Do you have any tricks or tips that you use to get to know clients when they first come in?
I think utilize. I mean, we have a process. Whether it's on the
Hmm.
membership side, we have. We sit down and have a conversation with them and try to gather as much different information about some of the things we talked about earlier, their work situation, their life situation, family situation, all of those things. But I think utilizing, I think just about everybody has some type of CRM software.
Hmm.
Utilizing really good notes in there and being able to build on that over time. So in our system, they come through the door, they're going through the membership process first. They get signed up with a membership. They go to a trainer, and then they do a deeper kind of interview with them, consultation with them. So being able to constantly, put those notes in. And for example, if our manager on the membership side puts really good notes in, and then the trainer goes to do the consultation, they could have never spoken. And I can say, hey, Jim was telling me you do X, Y, and Z. And it just makes the whole process look good. Like we're really caring about them and communicating about their what's best for them, and just being able to build on that and keep those notes and be able to refer back to those, because depending on the size of your facility, you're not going to remember everything about everybody, but you can make it feel that way and you can make it come off that way if you're really using the software well and keeping yourself organized and keeping track of all that information that everybody is gathering along the way.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. And I had Hank Ebling on the show on the podcast earlier, and he was talking about customer service. And he talks about getting the clients FORD,
Yeah, exactly.
which
Yep.
is like the F is for family, O is for occupation, R is for recreation, and D is for dreams.
Yep.
So if you can get all of those 4 points of information, then chances are you can use that to motivate them.
Yeah, motivate them or keep them engaged, or you just never know when it could be. You might have something coming up where you're looking to get referrals, and you can remember they told you something about somebody in their family at one time. And yeah, I mean, that information can be used anyway. But yeah, Ford's a big Anytime Fitness talks a lot about that too, so that's
Okay,
cool.
got it. Okay, good. All right. So, what are some things that you guys do that are unique to you that create that culture and customer experience?
So I think one thing that we do really well that's important is we have members only Facebook groups. So I think create whether it's that something like that or an app or whatever it might be, I think creating some type of environment where you can interact with and engage with your clients or your members the other 23 hours of the day, if they're working out at your gym an hour a day. Some people it's probably a couple hours a week. So creating a way to engage them when they're not inside your building, or not doing a session. And I know there's people that are doing online training and all of that, so that's a whole different animal. But I think creating areas where we've been able to just check in with people and see what they're doing on the weekend, and members are posting pictures of them, they're out and about hiking, or their food they made for the weekend, or whatever it might be. It just allows us to all interact and continue to build those relationships outside of that time they're in the gym. I think is really important. And hosting events as well, I think is another good one, depending on the type of facility you have. Whether it's people, especially this time of year, people are doing a bunch of stuff outside anyway, so why not just have them do it with you, whether that's a hike or food trucks, or we do some outdoor workouts or whatever it might be. So I think those are really the two big things for us, is creating that kind of online community, to interact with them, but then also doing some events and some outside stuff, just to make them feel like a part of something.
Yeah.
Whether it's a charity event that we do for Toys for Tots every year, or just make them feel like they're a part of a community and a part of something, I think is one thing we do really well.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, especially now coming out of COVID. I mean, obviously, when we were in COVID, all you had was the online
Yeah.
community. But now coming out of COVID, I think people are eager to kind of jump back in and do some social things. So I think any type of gathering you would do outside the club would be well received at this point.
Yeah,
And
and
then
those
also
online groups saved us during COVID. I mean, we were
that,
shut down 2.5, 3 months,
uh-huh,
and being able to interact is really what allowed us to probably retain as many people as we did, because we were putting
hmm
out, we were putting out free workouts they could do at home, and
hmm
just checking in, and we'd do live, almost like a live podcast where we would just talk about, nutrition during the pandemic or whatever,
uh-huh.
just being able to provide value and interact in those groups during COVID was a lifesaver for us, keeping people, kind of in the loop, and being able to get a lot of them back in as soon as possible once we could reopen.
Yeah, and you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say the studios, the owners that created that community or had that community in place before COVID hit, they fared better during the shutdown because of all the reasons you just said. It was already there. It made it easier to transition online, and made it easier to stay in contact and continue to serve their customers. It gave their clients a way to interact and support with one another. Like you said, creating the community. And I find that the businesses that already had that community in place had a huge leg up.
Yeah, and I think COVID really exposed a lot of these retention side things, and it's a lot of people don't talk about this stuff because there's not really anything they can sell you. Like if we talk about sales or lead generation, they can sell you their service, or they can sell you their platform, whatever. It's just not as sexy to talk about as some of the other stuff. But I think COVID really, a lot of places that were maybe getting 10 new clients a month, losing 5, so they were still growing, but they were still leaking out. Like, then all of a sudden COVID came and you weren't getting all the new traffic,
Mhm.
so the new traffic was stagnant, but you were still losing a bunch of people off the end. And I think that's why so many gyms ended up going out of business, during that. And if members or clients, whatever it might be, if they're only paying you their money for your equipment or your programs, um, there's always going to be something new or shinier or better that comes. I mean, you've been in fitness for how long? How many different trends and new flavor of the whatever come along? There's always going to be something else. So if they have an attachment to you and a relationship with you, they're not going to be as jumpy to these new things, because they're you're their family, you're their friend. We talk about being their third place or whatever,
hmm
work, home, the gym. If you can do that, you don't necessarily have to worry so much when Peloton comes along, or whatever the next thing is that could potentially cause people to be like, you know what, I think I'm going to go try that, because they're not canceling on the gym at that point. They're canceling their relationship with you. And I think that's a much harder thing for people to do.
I agree. I agree because if, like you said, if you can, especially touch them outside that those other 23 hours, then you become almost like a friend or a confidant or a coach, a literal coach, like almost like a life health and fitness coach. Like, oh, I don't know if I can eat that. Let me ask Ryan. Let me ask Ryan what he thinks of that.
Yeah.
Or I need to improve my movement. I wonder if that's any good. Well, let me ask Ryan. Let me ask Ryan what he thinks. And so then you become literally their coach or their confidant, where they bounce things off of you. And that's a sign that you've also developed that trust in that
Yeah.
relationship, and then they trust what you say.
Yeah. And that's whenever those trendy things come along, like, instead of just quitting and going and try it, they will run it by you. Like, hey, what do you think about keto? Or, like, as these things come along, they'll kind of get your take on it. And yeah, and another thing that's so simple, like you talked about, with that whole life interaction and that relationship, is sending people cards. Like, if you're in for a session and somebody mentions a death in the family, getting a sympathy card, signing it from everybody, shooting it over in the mail, and a couple of days later they get it. The reaction when they come back in for that next workout or that next session after they receive that card from us is always pretty special. So just some simple things like that to show you care beyond that workout, beyond that session or that workout, I think is really powerful. I know that was kind of random, but it just popped in my head when
No,
you
no,
said
no.
that.
I know. I think that's a good point, and I don't even think it has to be anything. I think it helps when it's like monumental things, like a death in the family, or a wedding, or
Yeah, or
a
even
new
just a thank you,
house,
or appreciate
or
you, whatever.
birthday or anything like that. But one of the things that I do a lot, that I actually enjoy doing, and my girlfriend says I'm really good at it, is that if anytime I come across, like when I'm just surfing social media and I come across a funny meme that, reminds me of a inside joke I had with a trainer or a client or somebody, I'll send it to them, and so that way the next time I see them, I'm like, hey, did you see that thing? And we can laugh and joke about it and things like that. But that's just another way of, and for me, those are almost more powerful than those big events, because it's like, oh, he's thinking about me. He sent me
Yeah.
this thing, in the middle of the day on a Tuesday, so
Yeah.
no special occasion. He was just, had me on his mind and sent me this meme, and I really appreciate that. And then it goes toward that relationship. So it can be the big things, but it also doesn't have to be. It can just be the kind of everyday, kind of mundane things that you can send them. I mean, because everybody's on social media, and probably, I'm sure you have friends that you send memes to.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
Everybody has categories of friends that they can. Well, I can't send that meme to Will, but I can send it to
That's exactly what I was going to say. That is
uh-huh.
what you would do with your friends, So
Uh-huh.
then it starts to put them in that mindset of like, Jim's my friend, Jim's my buddy, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to quit on their buddy. They'll
Right.
quit on a business, but they're not going to quit on a friend or their buddy. So yeah, that's great. We've tried. We haven't done as good of a job with that as we need to, of just like, even if it's an article or a podcast or something, where just like, hey, I saw this and thought of you, and shoot that over to them.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely something I'd like to improve on. But yeah, so those memes and the like funny things like that, that's what those members groups are great for. Like, somebody will share something funny into that you wouldn't post that on your regular like business Facebook page or anything
Mm-hmm.
that's like outward facing. But when you have that little like closed in like online community there, you can throw up some funny stuff that people will just love and react
Mm-hmm.
to. And yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and we had this trainer who used to be a cook, and so we had him start making meal prep videos.
Nice.
And so he makes one every week and posts it. And turns out he's kind of funny, and his personality comes through. And they've been really popular with the members. And we posted on our closed Facebook group, and have been really popular with the members. And then the members, they get to know the trainer a little bit too. They're like, oh, I didn't know Austin did this, or Austin could cook, or Austin was funny, or whatever else. And then it gives people that haven't met or don't know Austin a chance to kind of get him and know the club. And at the same time, we're providing them with some value with the meal prep, and giving them some healthy meal options and things like that. So it doesn't have to be anything, super big, but it's just got to be something. It's got to be directed, and it's got to be consistent, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of speaking along those lines, when we did have to shut down last year, myself and my one of my training coordinators, we started just doing a very small podcast just for our members, like just
Mm-hmm.
geared towards our members. And coming out of that, I was always shocked once we reopened. Like, I'd be sitting at my table out on the floor working on some stuff on my computer, and just a random member that I never really knew or talked to that much would just come up and ask me like about something we had just talked about, like, oh, hey, how'd this go? And I was like, man, I would never guess this guy would listen to this podcast or care. But like these little things, it just starts the conversation with people that you normally wouldn't, have an in to start a conversation with. They approach you about something other than training, which it can then lead to them, getting to know you and maybe getting into a training program or just being a member longer or whatever it might be. So yeah, those things that initiate conversations without really having to try are great like that.
Yeah. Awesome. So tell me about this podcast you guys were doing. What was that set up? How'd you guys set that up?
So we actually, like, when we first closed, me and him hopped on, we used, I think it was called StreamYard or something. We hopped on in our members group and just did a Facebook Live. I was at my
Mm-hmm.
house, he was at his house, and we were just kind of giving people some little tips for like home workouts or something. And did it a second week talking about like how to try to stay on your nutrition, and how even though the gym's closed, you're not working out, it's still really important to watch that nutrition. So we started out with just a series of like streaming live Facebook Live things, and then from there, we just use some stuff to put up on a podcast. Now we do it weekly. We post it in those members groups. We email it out to all the members, all the prospects. So it doesn't kill it. It's a limited audience, but there's a lot of podcasts, fitness podcasts, like not fitness business ones, but like from trainers or talking about workouts or nutrition, but there's really none that's specific and geared towards like a local audience like that. Like we know who our audience is. We know who's listening to it and we're talking directly to them. So being able to give
Mhm.
them little actionable things each week, we give them enough that they can implement some stuff and then be like, oh wow, that felt great. That exercise felt great, or doing this little adjustment, it really was easier on my joints, or this little nutrition tweak really helped. And then, we've been able to continue the conversation, and just another way to engage, another way to build
Mhm.
value. Maybe they're listening to us on the way to work now on their podcast or something. So yeah,
Yeah.
we've done that weekly, usually about 45 minutes to an hour. We've had members on who we've interviewed, and especially when we were closed, we brought on some members that were doing really well um, during the pandemic with working out at home, and we interviewed them and asked them what was really helping them and what was allowing them to be successful. So yeah, little thing we put out that's very geared towards our specific members, and it's gone pretty well.
Yeah, I really like that idea. And to your point, I think there's a ton of fitness talking about actually fitness podcasts, but I find that most of them are geared toward other trainers. If you
Yeah.
listen into them, they're talking like they're talking to trainers. They're not talking like they're talking to the general public or people who maybe haven't been in a gym for a while, or not familiar with the gym or not comfortable in the gym. They don't It doesn't sound to me like they're talking to that audience. It sounds to me they're talking to other fitness people. So
Yeah.
to have a podcast that's geared toward talking fitness to those people, I think is very helpful. And I also like the idea of doing the local podcast, because I've done the same thing with my club, Catalyst. I've been doing a local podcast geared toward just the local audience, not nationwide, and the members. And what I've done is I went out and found a local chiropractor, a PT, and a Pilates instructor. And so I interview them once a month, and then we just rotate through, and I call it your professional health and fitness team. And we just talk about anything related to health and fitness, but we gear it toward that audience of people who aren't comfortable in the gym, haven't been in the gym, maybe intimidated by the gym. So we gear it toward them so that they can kind of get to know, like, and trust us. So I think that's a great idea. And the fact that you have your members on, I mean, gives it so much more weight to, I think, to the local audience.
Yeah, and we actually we have a good relationship with a local chiropractor. We had him on, just like you said, and
Mhm.
we've had some talks. We have a physical therapy place right next to our one facility, so we've talked about getting them on. So yeah, that's awesome. We're kind of right in the same boat with you there. But yeah, we've kind of been like, because me and Tyler, who I do it with, we listen to all those types of podcasts you're talking about, so we can kind of be like the filter. Because if they do listen to that, they wouldn't know what to do with it.
Right.
They get on there and they're talking about compensatory acceleration. They're like, what the hell? What am I going to do with this? I'm
Right.
just using the circuit machine over here. So we're
Hmm.
able to kind of like give them the actionable, the takeaways that they can implement the next day, and kind of be that filter for them. It's given us a great ability to, hype up events we have coming up, or talk about different announcements that we need to tell people about in our facilities as well. But yeah, the times we interview the members, it always gets the most listens. They care more about what they have to say than what we had to say. That's for sure. So
Hmm.
um, yeah, it's just been good. Everybody wants to know. People like hearing when there's other people going through the same stuff as them, right? So when you have a
Hmm.
member with similar struggles or similar difficulties or a similar life situation, if we can get somebody on there that's killing it, that has two young kids and works full time and their kids play sports, if we can show other people like that you can still, get results and be healthy and take care of yourself through all that, I think that's more important than, me just telling them on a weekly basis that they can. The members have really helped out with that.
Yeah. And I think it goes a long way toward establishing you as an expert too, in their eyes, kind of like what we were talking about before, where they can come to you and feel safe, kind of bouncing things off of you.
Yeah,
So, and
and
it
we've
just
we've
goes,
generated we've generated new training clients or upgrades or supplement sales or whatever from people that maybe didn't want to talk to us when they first joined the gym because they thought we were just going to try to sell them personal training and just pressure
Mhm.
them and all that stuff. So they skipped out on that whole thing. So they've never really spoken to us about anything, but then they listen to the podcast and we're talking about, bench pressing with a neutral grip if you have shoulder or elbow issues or something. And then they try
Mhm.
that and they're like, oh man, these guys actually know a little bit. And then now they're
Mhm.
more willing to talk to you. And then as that relationship develops, then they end up maybe in a training package, or maybe they're buying some supplements off you or something, when before they were like, stay away from me. You're just going to sell me stuff. I don't want anything to
Mhm.
do with it. So that's helped us, get into some people that warm some people up to us that, hey, maybe
Mhm.
these guys have some helpful information for me.
Yeah, I think all trainers, and especially male trainers, have to overcome what I call the meathead Neanderthal stereotype. You
Yeah.
know, I think every mom that comes in thinks that, like, they come in to see me and they're like, oh God, this guy's going to make me lift like I'm going to the Olympics. And so you have to overcome that kind of perception problem, right?
Yeah, or I think a lot of times too, they don't think we understand. They think we just are extremely motivated to work out 365 days a year, and we don't understand what it's like to have a family or have a job, or not, be in a rut. So that's another thing that's been great about that, is it's allowed us to open up ourselves whenever we're maybe dealing around an issue, or we're just not that motivated, or we're not watching our nutrition as much. It just becomes very relatable, and they're like, oh, okay, maybe they do understand. They're not, we had a couple of people come up to us originally when we first started, and the thing they said about it was, that we were like real people. And we're like, what are you talking, like, to us, we're like, what are you talking about? We're just like, so that was pretty surprising, that we weren't expecting, was for people to, be able to understand that we understand, their situation maybe a little bit more than they might think from the outside.
Yeah, that's a great point. And and all of that from, how long are your podcasts?
Each, sometimes it get a little lengthy, it goes over an hour, but usually
Mhm.
45 to an hour is probably that sweet
Yeah.
spot.
So like 45 to 60 minutes, a week, and you get all of those benefits, from your clients, and probably untold benefits, because there's many people that come up to you. There's probably two or three that don't,
Yeah.
that probably feel the same way. So what are some other things that you guys do that are unique to you that help build that customer experience and culture?
I think, for our type of facility, it's really important to have a system to contact people whenever they're not there. So if people kind of fall off a little bit, usually it's after 2 weeks for us, we're reaching out and trying to get creative about getting them back in there and offering them free, let's help put a plan together, or let's get you back up to speed. So I think actually caring if people are using what they're paying for makes a big difference, because of how, I don't, Planet Fitness is fine. I just keep using this as an example, but like,
Huh?
they don't really care if you're not coming or not using. One, they probably don't even know. And two, they're not going to do anything about it because it's only $10. So you're not going to cancel it because it's not that big of a deal. But I think being able to reach out to people when they're not getting what they're paying for, and expressing that you are recognizing that they're not getting what they're paying for, and trying to help them get back on track, has been one thing that's really separates us and adds to that experience.
Well, and that goes back to kind of that underutilized aspect of retention that you touched on earlier. I think if you can have a concentrated effort on retention that's consistent, that's systemic and consistent, then not only does that help you hold on to your members, so it helps grow your business, because you're not, as you said, leaking members out the back as new members come in the front. But also, if they are having a great experience, it's a great source of referrals, which again helps grow your business. So I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, generally, and we talked about this before. It's a lot of gyms. It seems like it's like, that video where the guy is sucking up leaves with a leaf blower, but then the bag's unzipped, so he's sucking all these leaves in. They're all shooting out the back, so it's like you're kind of stuck. And people pay so much money for Facebook advertising or any type of advertising to get new people, when yeah, some of these things take some time, but for the most part, retaining people through some of the things we've talked about so far is free. You could keep members, and generally the deeper that relationship is, they spend more money on your services, they spend more
Mhm.
money longer, and yeah, they refer everybody that they know to you. So, by retaining members, you can really drive growth that way for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, I had we have a new client. She just moved here, and she brought in her brother-in-law to join. And she said, my goal, I mean, because she loves, Cadless. She loves the experiences she has at Cadless. She says, and I quote, "These are my people," which is
Yeah.
what we want, right? That's every, owner's dream. And she says, my goal is to have my entire family in here. And we're like, yeah, that's our goal too. Get them
Yeah,
in.
sounds great. Sounds great. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's crucial. And I think too, um, when you have those relationships, like I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but like we'll have training clients that have been training with us for 5 years and they haven't lost a pound. They just love the
Mm-hmm.
environment. They love the
Mm-hmm.
people, that it's fun. They look forward to coming to their sessions every week. And, they just don't follow through on the nutrition side as much as
Mm-hmm.
they should. So they don't get the results. But, if you don't have that, like I said, if they're only paying you for your equipment or your service you're providing, if the service, the programming, whatever the workouts aren't getting them the results, they're gonna get the hell out of there. But you'll get people to stick around much longer and spend more if they have that relationship. But yeah, those systems and processes are definitely important to making it not take as much time, because you don't have to spend money to send somebody a text or a call like, hey, we haven't seen you in a couple weeks, just want to make sure everything's okay, see what we can do
Mm-hmm.
to get you back up to speed. Like, it takes a little bit of time, but if the process and the system is there, you can save so much money, because like I said, that's all those referrals are free. There's no
Mm-hmm.
CPL on a referral, that's free. So
Yeah.
take that all day with how much you have to spend to get some leads on Facebook these days.
Yeah. And if you're not closing your referrals, then you're a terrible salesperson.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of people that have just come in and been like, she told me it's this time, this many times a week she's doing, it's this much, I want that. And we're like,
Mhm.
you have to like pump the brakes on them to like take them through the process a little bit. That's the
Right.
best thing in the world.
Absolutely. And then kind of what you said about having a training client for 5 years who hasn't lost any weight. That's always been a question in my mind. And I think because me, I think, okay, they're coming in to train, so they must want to lose weight. But not everybody wants to lose weight. Some they
Yeah.
just want to be healthier, and if they can be healthier at the same weight, then they're happy with it. Because we put out surveys and we got a good response. And I would say probably about half of our members, they don't give a shit about nutrition. They don't
Right.
care. They just want to come in. They want to get their ass busted.
Yeah.
They want to work out. They want to sweat. They want to feel better. And of course, they love the people. They enjoy the environment and everything, but they don't really care about nutrition. And so we had to come to that realization that they're just here to train and be healthier, and maybe we can help them do that, be a little bit healthy. Maybe they don't want to lose 50 pounds or have six-pack abs. And I tell people, most people don't want to do what it takes to get six-pack abs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get you six-pack abs, but you may hate your life.
Yeah.
But so, let's talk about your goals and make them a little bit more realistic to you. But to your point, it's like I had to realize that not every one of my clients wants to lose weight. And of course, when they're sitting in front of me, I'm thinking they want to lose weight. They're thinking, he thinks I want to lose weight. So they say, well, I want to lose weight. But
Yeah.
do they really want to lose weight?
Yeah, and I think too, those are the ones that are frustrating, right? The ones that are there working their ass off all day, and if they did just clean up the nutrition, they would get great results, but they're just not. And those ones, it seems like if you do try to like continually push them on that nutrition side, they just end up, you're just gonna run them out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think another side of it too is because of where fitness is at. I think people just want to be able to tell people they go to the gym a lot. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's part of it for some of those people, is to be able to tell other people that that they go to the gym all the time. I think is important. But yeah, whenever they're coming for, and that's where group training, I think group training helps so much, is you create that little friendly atmosphere, that friend environment where people are just they're just kind of coming to our group sessions. Not everybody. We do get people results, I promise. I think a lot of them are just coming to hang out with their friends for the 5 o'clock team session. I think that's what it is for a lot of people, which is fun. It makes them happy, and they get a little stronger. The cardio gets a little bit better, but maybe they don't lose weight, and so be it. They're content, it seems.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, our goal is to help them reach their goal, not our goal, right?
Yeah.
So we got to make sure we know what their goals are. Well, Ryan, this has been great, man. And I feel like we just scratched the surface on this. So I'd like to reserve the right to have you back on. But I always end with 3 questions, and it's my favorite part of the show because I think we get some of the deepest answers. And so my first question is, what has been your most successful failure? And by that, I mean, at the time, it seemed like a devastating loss that you didn't think you were going to be able to recover from, but you were able to take life lessons from it that propelled you to greater success down the road.
Ooh, man. Man, if that's question 1, I don't know. 2 and 3, I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
Yeah.
I think I left. I was in Anytime Fitness for a while. I was a trainer. I was moving up, and then I left for a while. Fitness, you obviously have to work a certain schedule when other people aren't working, and I wanted to let me go try the 8 to 4 or whatever. So I went and did something that wasn't that way, and man, what a difference when you're doing something every day that you're not passionate about. It's just like such a difference. So I think walking away from fitness, at the time, it kind of, and this probably isn't the best answer for this one, but at the time it felt like I was doing the right thing. I quickly realized that I was doing the wrong thing, but then I was able to, when I came back, it was a much different set of circumstances, and there was a lot more opportunity available for me to take that wasn't there before. So it was better off. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now had I stayed the whole time. So, when I left, it felt like a terrible decision after a while, but then, the opportunities when I came back were much greater and much more, beneficial to me by doing that. So probably
Yeah.
not the best answer for that, but
No, I think that's a great answer, because I think if you look at the statistics, they say the average personal trainer lasts less than 5 years, and so I think that's part of it. I think there's this thing where trainers, they get into personal training because they were in sports and they like, being physical, and they want to help people, achieve their goals too. But then they get to the point where maybe they get married or they got a kid on the way, and they're like, okay, now I've got to get a quote unquote real job, right? And then they, put on the tie and they go try to do the 9 to 5 thing, and they fucking hate it, and some
I
of
think it showed
them.
me too. I think it showed me too on the way back, because there are so many people in fitness that are, I like the gym, so I'll work in the gym or whatever. Like you get a lot of that. I really found the second time around in fitness that if you put in the work to get, learn new skills and learn, marketing or this customer service stuff or sales or management, like if you put in like not that much effort, you can really create some opportunities for yourself, and seems like in this industry a little bit easier than in others, because there are so many people that are just kind of hanging out because they like the gym, so they get a job in the gym. So
Mhm.
leaving and then coming back, I think really did show me that as well, that it's like, all right, you can, if you make yourself valuable with the skills that you acquire, you can really name the role you want, or go get the job you want, or do the thing that you want. So that was very helpful from leaving.
Yeah, I and I agree with you. Is if you take it seriously and treat it like a career and a profession, which I believe it is,
Yeah, absolutely.
then I think you can make a career out of it. I think you can make a good living, a decent living out of it. But it's like anything else, you got to work at it. I had Rick Mayo on the show several times, and he talked about like when he almost lost his personal training business. And so he was ready to throw in the towel. It's like, oh, this fitness stuff is too hard. I'm going to go into another business. And he went and talked to his dad, and his dad's like, dude, business is hard.
Yeah, it
Get your
doesn't matter
shit
what it
together.
is.
It doesn't matter what it is. Get your shit together, because even if you go into another business, you're still going to have to deal with this, So, yeah, I
I
couldn't
would
agree
say, I
with
would
you
actually
more.
say, I would say COVID too. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, at the
Uh-huh.
time, have we were getting some momentum going. Like I was getting settled into that regional role. We were growing, and then you know, a 24/7, 365 gym has to close. I've never seen that before. So
Mm-hmm.
at the time, we are like, oh my god, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. But we had to make changes. Like we started doing some things differently. We changed our pricing structure. Like we adapted. We also saw the things like all of the culture stuff that we were doing well. Like it showed us what we were doing well, what we weren't, what we needed to change. And now we're in a better position than we were pre-COVID at this point. We've bounced back and then some. So I would definitely put that one as an answer too.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity. I think a couple of things have happened as a result of COVID that have changed the landscape. One, I think some of the weaker players, actually some of the stronger players, dropped out, but
Yeah.
there's
Thin
fewer.
the
So
herd.
yeah, so there's fewer players, but the players that are still around are the serious ones. So even though there's less competition, the competition has never been better. So you have to really up your game. And then two, I think COVID is put an emphasis on people's health and fitness. So I think one, coming out of COVID, not doing anything for a year, they're eager to do something. And two, they also saw like the effects of not being in good health can have on you during the whole COVID pandemic thing. So I think the fitness industry is, if you do it right, is poised to really explode.
Yeah, and we actually just saw that our June at both of our locations that are open. Our third one's opening here in a month or so, but we had a bigger June of joins and personal training sales than we've probably ever had. Usually the summer is pretty slow and then it picks back
Mhm.
up, but people are recognizing that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, then my next question, they get easier from here, Ryan.
All right, good. Whew.
Since you've been in the fitness industry, what has been the biggest surprise that you've had to deal with that you did not see coming? And COVID is exempt because nobody saw that coming.
Oh, yeah. Um, I guess what I'll say is, and how I think it'll continue to go is, I don't think technology and virtual stuff is going to be as disruptive to gyms as I think people think it's going to be. Um, like with all these the abilities to do these live workouts at home and live training sessions, I mean, you still have to do it, and fitness is always going to be an extremely motivation heavy. And I mean, just look at obesity rates, people aren't that motivated to do it. So I
Mhm.
think that personal touch, that personal element, that personal accountability is always going to be there. So I think since I've gotten into it, one, seeing the advancements in like virtual fitness and technology as it relates to fitness has been very surprising, but more surprising than that is just seeing how I don't think it's really gonna like I don't think gyms and in-person personal training and all that stuff is really ever going to go away, because I think so many people need that relationship to be able to show up and do it. So I would say that would probably be my answer for that one.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I think the answer is going to be a integration
Mm.
of technology, and it doesn't even have to be like some new technology. It can be existing technology that you can integrate into your client experience. Like if you do some kind of challenge around the Apple Watch or a Whoop, or choose any of the wearables that people are already using. MyZone, we use MyZone,
Yeah,
so
we
you
just brought
can,
my zone in a couple months ago. Yeah, it's been
yeah,
great. It's been great
yeah.
the last couple months.
But you can incorporate that into your client's training. You can do challenges with it. You can do contests with it. You can do all kinds of stuff. So I think the sweet spot is going to be the integration of that technology, and not necessarily the technology by itself. I agree with you, but I think you have to be aware of that, and you have to be on the lookout for integrating. And to your point earlier on the retention, is if you're integrating existing technology into your programming, it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually something we just, we went over in a recent meeting, because we did just bring MyZone in, and in June we ran a facility challenge between our two locations, and everybody
Mhm.
bought in and was loving it. We brought in Evolt for body composition scans a few years ago.
Mhm.
So, we talked about if you're constantly bringing that new and exciting thing, like if you're always hyping up and introducing new and exciting to your members, then they're not going to go seek new and exciting somewhere else if you are the new
Mhm.
and exciting all the time. So yeah, we're always looking. The next thing we're bringing in is stick mobility, which I guess isn't really technology, but we're going to
Mhm.
bring that in and start bringing some mobility, using some tools into our programs as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
bringing the technology in is crucial, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be as disruptive as people originally thought. And then my last question is, where do you go for your personal and professional development?
Oh man, I like hopping on a lot of podcasts. I actually like getting a lot of stuff from outside the fitness industry. So like I'll
Mhm.
go get some sales stuff from, sales is sales. So getting some sales information from other industries is really
Mhm.
helpful. Getting some marketing ideas from other industries, because I think within fitness there's a lot of people doing a couple things, right? I think a lot of
Mhm.
people are doing very similar stuff. So love books, love reading. I'd say reading and podcasts for sure. And then I've tried to get better in my new role at getting to know people like yourself, trying to network with people that know more than me, and going to people that are expert. Like, I'm not the best marketing person in the world. So going to people that are experts in that and picking their brains is really important. So, yeah, a lot of books, and I can't do digital. Like, I can't do books on like iPads, or I need a book. I need a physical book. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't adapt.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't like the iPads or the whatever you call that, whatever you call that thing, the reader thing. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but I like books too. And I like the fact that you go outside of the fitness industry, because I find, and Thomas Plummer says this too, is that the fitness industry can be incestuous, meaning like, we get together, a mastermind or some kind of Facebook group
Yeah.
or something like that, and then we kind of circulate the same ideas, right? And then we put a new twist on it. I'll try this, but really it's the same idea. So I think it's really good to go outside the industry to see what other people are doing, see what works in their industry, and see if you can make some tweaks to work in the fitness industry so that you can actually try something new and not that's been tried before. I mean, especially if you're talking about wanting to differentiate yourself and rise above the crowd noise.
Yeah, and Thomas Fulmer's great. I got to see him speak at one of our regional Anytime Fitness things, and man, he was that's
He
one of
hit you
those
in the
ones at the end of
face.
the yeah, that's one of those ones at the end of the day. You're like, where do I even start?
Yeah.
And taking action on this. But yeah, he's great, and yeah, I think you see a lot of that. Like, it's, over here it's joined for this many cents, and then this one's joined for this many cents, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, all right. So yeah, I mean, sales is sales, right? And marketing is marketing. Getting people's attention is
Business is
getting
business.
people's
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I
Mm-hmm.
think there's a lot to learn from other businesses, especially those that had to adapt, to disruptors in the industry, or to technology changes in the industry, or ones that were affected by COVID, like gyms were. I think there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of commonalities, and you can take those things and say, okay, how do we fit it into what we do, and try to think outside the box a little bit.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. Well, this has been great, man. Well, Ryan, where can people go to get in touch with you, find out more, get you to speak somewhere, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so LinkedIn's probably the best bet, where I put a lot of stuff, just my name on there, Ryan O'Toole. And then also, over the last year or so, really trying to dive into this culture. I started culturefirstfitness.com, which is where I try to do some different blogs, or post some videos, or stuff like that. But all my information is on there. So either that website or LinkedIn's your best bet.
Okay. And all those links will be in the show notes. Just go to trainerjim.net and click on this episode of the podcast, and all the links to contact Ryan will be right there. And it's also going to be on our YouTube pages. All of our podcasts are on the YouTube page. So if you want that added communication of body language and facial expressions, which I think is probably 60% of communication, then you can go to our YouTube channel, Masters in Fitness Business Podcast. So Ryan, thanks a lot, man. And like I said, I would love to have you on because I feel like we just scratched the surface today.
Yeah, I looked down at the time. I was pretty surprised myself. But Jim, I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on, and the opportunity is great. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right, well, have a good rest of your day.
You too. Take care.